Hey guys, Rhonda Draculis with RK3 Designs, and you are in the right place. This is Tuesday night. We're live, coming from my living room, and it is Q&A tonight. I'm so excited. I have got a house full of some of the top people in the industry right now, and I have them all together, and we are here to answer questions for you. So it's going to be a little different tonight. If you guys saw our post on Facebook, we asked you to give us a list of questions that you guys may want us to answer live for you tonight. So we have a few of those questions, but we also have some questions that all of us get very frequently that we want to bring to you.
So let us know right now if you're watching. Shoot us a question right now in the chat. I'm going to highlight some of those and we'll be answering those live. So if you want to engage right now with us, send us your questions right now in the super chat.
Okay, so first of all, what I'd like to do is just to kind of get things going is I do have a couple of questions that I've kind of written down that I get a lot. So the first question we're going to get is, what's the difference between the original Stone Coat Countertop epoxy and the Art Coat epoxy? And who better to answer that than our expert Stone Coat Countertop person, Mitch?
I gotta start. All right, let's go.
You gotta start.
So the difference, the original Stone Coat was developed for the countertop, environment, the countertop surfaces in your bathroom and kitchen. And Art Coat came to be from an artist who was hanging their art up in front of the sun. And the sun can yellow epoxy over time, amber epoxy over time. So we crammed in the most UV stabilization you could possibly put into epoxy before it started to degrade its durability, how it functioned. So the Art Coat is designed for white and light colored countertops or clear coats over artwork. And the countertop epoxy, acts just the same, but it has just a little less of those UV inhibitors that cost more. That's why there's this price difference right there with those products.
So I often get, can I use the Art Coat with a dark tint? Can I do a black finish with Art Coat?
Yeah.
100%. And I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. Art Coat is my go-to. And Erica, let us know a little bit about, you do a lot of art. Clara, you do too. Let us know kind of what you think about it.
Art Coat is the best because, well, there's so many reasons. So my favorite thing about Art Coat is that it has so much hulls in it that it kind of does not yellow that quick. Obviously, there's a lot of factors involved, but also the open time. Working with it for up to 2 hours. I've got it to work up to 3 hours, depending on ambient temperature. That's two of my favorite things. Workability and the fact that it's gonna stay how I know it looks when I send it to my clients.
Perfect.
For so long, the best. Awesome. It's absolutely the best.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good question. I'm glad I brought that up.
Yeah, I already got
Good question, Rhonda. Way to go.
I already got a good question from Brett Cunningham.
Oh,
We all
Brett.
know him.
Hey, Brett.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Brett. He says, what is the most epoxy you will mix up at one time?
Okay, so anybody want to answer that? Okay,
Depends.
Keith, go ahead.
I limit myself to 1 gallon.
Okay.
I can mix up 128 ounces if my project is going to call for, say, 2 gallons of epoxy. I'll mix up the 1 gallon. I'll apply my color coat down. I'll mix up the 2nd gallon. Regardless, if I do need to mix up 2 gallons, I'll mix up the 1st gallon, get it poured onto the surface, mix up the 2nd gallon, get it poured onto the surface. I still have 1.5 hours to 2 hours of work time.
Let me add to that too as well. So those of you that have seen that wall behind me in our my YouTube videos, that turquoisey wall. So that we used 22 gallons of epoxy. So we were mixing as we went. We had someone, I think it was Kenny.
Kenny and I both were mixing.
That's all they did was mix and then handed it off to us, and we started adding the colors and we would lay it down. Now, depending on what kind of epoxy you're using, y'all, there's a million epoxies out there. There's a million, well, there's not a million, there's a lot of really good epoxies out there, and there's a lot of epoxies that really aren't that good for the application that we use because of the short open time and things like that. But in my experience, if you start mixing up a lot, like 5-gallon buckets at a time, and you don't have help, and you leave that product in your bucket, you're going to get what we call pot life, and it's going to start heating up. Now, we're not talking about deep pour casting epoxy. We're talking about 1-to-1 tabletop epoxy. So, Brett, to answer your question, I'm with Keith a lot. A gallon is probably going to be my max, and we'll just keep mixing and then adding to. So
yeah, depending on the backup that you have, accordingly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can go for more.
Would have been my answer is if I have a team with me, I'll mix up more. If I'm by myself, and it's also what technique I'm using as well.
I've got a question here that I get a lot. When do you tape your edges? All right, so taping your edges is a practice that we do to force the epoxy to stay on your surface. So the reason you would want to force that epoxy to stay on your surface is, one, to keep your pattern or your design. As the epoxy starts to set up, it's going to make your design stay there, okay? But if you only tape your edges when you have 3 ounces per square foot, what's going to happen is you don't have enough of that product when you pull your tape to push that epoxy over your edges.
Correct.
So we never tape our edges unless I'm doing a melted marble or an exotic pour where I'm doing probably 6 ounces or more per square square foot. Almost said per square inch. Per square foot. I never tape my edges on a clear coat.
No.
There's not enough epoxy on there to justify doing that. So I know a lot of you, you'll ask me, I cannot get my edges to look nice. And one reason is when I look at your photos, you don't have enough product.
Right.
So you want to add something to
and
that?
I've also noticed if you don't do a good enough job to wet those or grease those edges initially, the epoxy is going to continue to, avoid an area, right? And then you get those runs. So initially, when you first get the material down, wet those edges out with your hand and make sure you leave no dry spots, because you may come back and that will stay a dry spot.
Exactly.
Epoxy does work better than
Right, exactly.
One more other tip on that is after you have, whether it's your color coat or whether it's after you've put down your flood coat and you've torched to torch your bubbles out, be cautious of not getting that torch too close to the edges. If you happen to heat your epoxy up later on in the pour, after 30 minutes to an hour, if for some reason you need to torch it, if you get your torch or your heat gun close to those edges, you're going to heat up just that one area, and just that one area is going to want to drip back down over that edge, and that's what causes those runs, that's what causes those drips. So when you're torching, be cautious not to get too close to the edge so you don't heat that area up and make one area thin where it's going to run over that edge and cause those drips.
Or more in line with the torch when you're using that, if you've already got your edges taped up, you removed your tape, and you torch too much, you're going to encourage your epoxy to run, and your design to run off.
And I don't know about y'all, but I never torch my edge.
Nope. I very
torch
seldom
it.
would torch my edge.
Right, as you torch the surface, you remove all that air, the epoxy is going to self-level over, bringing bubble-free epoxy on those edges. Same like when you do a chopped in marble, you chop in the color on the top, and as that self-levels, it brings those colors around the edges.
Would you explain also, once your epoxy is set up and you've gotten to that point where it's getting sticky, if you've seen that you have some drip lines or you have some runs, you've got a good method of being able to smooth that out.
That's a great topic to bring up. So what I do to ensure that I have really smooth edges is about, depending on your temperature now, about 6 hours maybe, when your epoxy is tacky, but it's not stringy. It could even be 8 hours. It depends on your temperature and your humidity. But once you can touch that surface of your epoxy and it's tacky, that's not going to follow your finger up, and you notice that you have ridges on your edges, put a glove on and get isopropyl alcohol, squirt it in your hand, and then rub those edges, and it's like butter. You'll feel that epoxy just melt and level out like butter. Now, if it's too early in the pour and your epoxy's not ready, your glove is going to stick and you're not going to be able to rub your hand really smoothly, so you're going to need to wait a little bit longer. Also, what you can do is take you a stick, popsicle stick, run that stick underneath your edge, get rid of all those drips, then come in with your glove and your alcohol, and you can actually rub all those drips, rub your edges, and it'll be as smooth as butter, and you will never have to sand that to get it smooth. So that is a pro. That is a pro tip.
But the timing is crucial.
The timing is crucial.
Yeah.
If you do it too early, you're going to mess up your finish. Your hand's going to drag. You could possibly actually cause some gooey spots. If you wait too long, you'll have no reaction. You won't be able to manipulate those sides.
I want an applause button.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that was a pro tip. All right.
Oh, you want to take one?
I did want to go back to Mike's question about the seal. Yes, the sealer.
That's
Is that what
exactly
you're
what I
going
was
to do?
gonna. That was the one I was going to bring.
Perfect. All right.
Man,
Good.
Found it. Bing. We need a button for that too.
Yeah.
All right. Mike asks,
Dang it.
when installing a shower wall, what sealer should I use in the corners? Like how to seal up those panels?
Right.
100% silicone is what we use, right?
Yep.
So I use 100% silicone. I call them blobs, and I put them all over the back of the sheetrock or the waterproofed area. And then as you push your shower panel, it suction cups that bad boy to the wall. And then you take the corners and just do a nice thick bead of silicone in there.
We did that for your backdrop.
Yes, and also that silicone, if you'll go on Amazon, actually comes in colors.
Yep.
We've done gray countertops, gray showers. We've actually done some marble where we have black and white. And I've actually gone in with 2 to 3 different color of silicone and actually done that, and it makes it look seamless. So check it out, Amazon. I don't have the links, but they do have tinted silicone. Now, make sure you don't use silicone at all around wet epoxy, or we're going to be pouring epoxy, because
The last thing.
it's like kryptonite.
Yes.
It doesn't,
epoxy.
epoxy does not like silicone.
The tile section where the grout is sold at the Home Depot or Lowe's is another place you can find colored caulking and silicones.
All right.
They match grout colors in there, so I've gotten out of some stuff for that.
I knew there was paintball.
All right, next, we have another one.
I got one from Jay West.
I'm looking at the same one.
Can I use epoxy in outdoor applications? I need to build an outdoor shower.
Okay. Where's my no button? No. So, all right. There is.
Is it going to be shaded?
Okay.
That's where my brain
Correct.
goes first.
Okay.
Is it going to be in
Very
direct
true.
sun? It's a no.
Correct.
Is it going to
It's
be
shade?
hot outside?
All right. So there's a multitude of answers for that question.
Are you going to be attacked?
First of all, I'm going to ask you, is the epoxy going to be in a shaded area?
All day.
All day. Sunlight and epoxy do not mix at all. Sunlight, UV rays will actually over time degrade epoxy. Now, in saying that, I have a little table. I did a video on it. It's been sitting on my back porch in full sunlight for about 5 years. The epoxy Stone Coat countertop, it never cracked, it never chipped, but it got very dull. So that's going to be one of the things that happens, is your epoxy will get dull if it's in the sun. If you're
Direct
doing
sun, through a kitchen window, there's argon gases and things in the window that are filtering out a lot of that stuff. So we're talking direct sunlight outside.
Yeah. So first of all, if you do it on foam is not really meant to be in direct sunlight either. If it's in a shower, obviously it's not going to be getting direct sunlight.
Let me touch on that real quick.
Sure.
Shower foam, exactly. I've been in contact with 3M because I want to try to get the foam without the slits in it, which they actually sell.
That would be great.
We're going to try to provide that on the website. But I asked them, what's the warranty on this stuff? Because I told them what we're doing, and then they went and watched the video, and they called me back. They said, the whole sales team's watching this video. I can't believe you do this with our product. It was way cool. But anyways, they said the foam is lifetime warranty for the bond on that epoxy, what degrades the foam is UV and sunlight.
Okay, there you
so
go.
You do not want that foam board, like say the back of that foam, you don't want that in the sun
Okay.
at all.
So if your shower is underneath an area where it's not getting direct sunlight, absolutely you can do it. Don't do a white or light finish, okay?
Or black.
Or yeah, black will kind of fade a little bit as well. But if it's going to be in an area where it's protected from UV, I'm gonna say go for it. Now, if you're in an area where you have huge temperature changes from 100 degrees to 20 degrees in a very, very short span of time, that could also cause a few issues. Not so much on your foam, but if you used a substrate that swells and shrinks, that you could have some delamination issues.
Yep.
So,
Great question though.
all right, good.
I got one for Clara.
Go.
Brian asks, what dyes do you use when you're creating the alcohol ink?
Oh, the alcohol dyes?
The Clara marble.
Yeah, we use the Alumilite dyes that we use for tinting resin and such. They
Like
work
what's
really well.
what are the ratios kind of? How do you walk them through that real quick?
Okay, well, basically the little needle bottles that I use, which I believe are about an ounce.
1 ounce.
Yeah, 1
Yep.
ounce bottles. I fill them up mostly with alcohol, 91% alcohol.
Yep.
And I use up to about 4 drops is usually my stop point of the Alumilite dye. Now, it's not, completely accurate because sometimes you get big drops, sometimes you get little drops. So it's a hit or miss kind of thing. And I will just play around with the different colors. I usually will put a little BB in there so it shakes up really well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you put mica powders in there also?
You can. I use.
Gotta use it.
You can add mica powders to the existing color that you're trying to create with the Alumilite dyes, or you can add even some of the resin art coloring to it, or you can mix them up separately as well and use them on their own.
I want to add. Can you explain why you don't want to use true alcohol inks in epoxy?
Within epoxy, some people
Or for this
for this
technique.
application
Right.
and stuff. Some, and I'm not going to say all, but a large majority of
Most.
alcohol inks aren't light fast. So if you have this gorgeous kitchen countertop next to a sunlight, a gorgeous window, it can fade really fast. So we don't want that, and
Nope.
there's no point in doing that. So that's why we use the Alumilite products, because they're meant to dye in resin, and you're already working with a resin product.
Perfect.
So that's what
Great
it's about.
answer.
Great question
answer.
too.
I've got one.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a question from Mary Sorrells. Hi, Mary. Her question is, I'm doing a bedside tabletop, 24 by 18. Is there any reason why I cannot use quick coat for the color coat and flood coat? Great question, Mary. And the original stone coat quick coat has no UV protection.
She's talking about the new one.
The amazing.
The amazing quick coat. That's the one she's talking
Yeah.
about because we've been doing.
That's a
quick
UV
coat.
stable
Yeah.
quick coat.
Okay, well, she didn't say amazing, so I will get to that.
I know Mary
No.
Sorrells very well.
I answered
so-
her on there. I said, no,
Blah,
you cannot use
blah,
quick
blah.
coat. Don't feel bad. I said the same.
Okay.
So that being said, you have a quick time to get that down and flat, or it's going to be ripply. Like
Right.
you got to stop messing with it. I've used the amazing quick coat to do some seal coats over smaller projects, but you're mixing, you're getting it out of the bucket, torching, removing the air, and not touching it.
Yeah.
Because you start messing with that too late in the process, it won't ever self level back.
Yeah. So let
equals 30 minutes.
me. I don't know if I'm
Right.
on camera or not. So let me answer your question, Mary. The amazing quick coat is really a great product for your color coat, for your color layer. Okay. You can manipulate it. You've got plenty of. I don't say plenty of time, but for that size of project that you're doing, you have plenty of time to get it out, manipulate it, but you don't want to use it as your flood coat because, like they said, that product is literally curing as it's self-leveling, so you're gonna get ripples. So I would definitely do the art coat or the original formula epoxy as your flood coat, but as far as doing your project that size with the amazing quick coat, get everything lined up, everything's ready to go, mix your product, get it on the table, and you should be okay.
So someone just asked what causes
Yep, that's
yellowing.
exactly what I was going to bring up.
Okay, is it
Question.
time to start that?
It is.
All right.
Let's
We're
do
gonna
it.
give you the Cliff Notes version. We're not
Okay,
gonna harp on this.
right. So that is the elephant in the room every time we start talking about epoxy. So let's clarify. All epoxy is going to amber at some point in its life.
All surfaces.
Period. It's going to happen, okay? Now, the difference is, one, the quality of your raw ingredients on your epoxy, the amount of UV additives that go into that epoxy, and where you're putting your piece. Are you setting it up for failure by putting it in front of a window or high UV areas, things like that. Now, yellowing and ambering are two different things.
Yep.
So yellowing is actually when your epoxy turns a real milky yellowy color, okay?
Quickly, too.
Quickly, usually very quickly. That is a chemical reaction. Your epoxy is reacting to something in it. Most of the time, it's going to it's reacting with some sort of additive. Maybe what you're tinting with. You're tinting with something that's not made for epoxy, or you're tinting with too much of an additive. Just overloading most additives will increase that reaction of making your epoxy yellow. Another thing, not letting your base paint, whatever you're painting your base with, if you're using a latex paint, you're not letting it off gas. The reason Mike and Mitch started using Behr paint is because of the low amounts of ammonia.
Right.
You use a really high-end paint, maybe a Sherwin-Williams or something like that. They have a lot of ammonia and other gases that has to off gas minimum of 24 hours. Some of the really high-end Sherwin-Williams, I've let off gas for 36 hours if I know I'm doing a white finish.
You almost can smell it.
Exactly. So not allowing it to off gas.
Yep.
Also, extreme heat for a long period of time. If you pour a piece in a RV, and then that RV is not in a climate-controlled environment, and it gets super hot,
Cooking all summer, yeah.
it could increase and cause that yellowing. So that's the difference between yellowing and ambering. I have a shower that's almost 4 years old, and I poured clear over I have some white vinyl. Those of you that have seen my shower, I've got some white vinyl, looks like Mexican tiles. That white in that epoxy over that white is as vivid as the day I poured it. I've also poured countertops that are 4 or 5 years old, white Carrara marble, where I did not overload my tinting. It looks amazing. I've also done some countertops where I wasn't paying attention. I just started squeezing the additives. I added too much white. Over time, it yellowed. Now, Erica has a product called Just Resin Titanium White. I've seen some pieces that she's done 3 and 4 years ago where that titanium white is still as vivid as the day that she poured it. So that is one product that you really want to use. We sell it on our website. They sell it on their website. It is an amazing product. But the Alumilite white dye is still very good. You just don't want to overload. You want to add a little bit at a time until you reach the opacity that you're going for.
I want to say it's easier to overload the Alumilite because it's a squirt bottle
Right.
instead of like just scooping a little
Right.
bit out of a
Very-
jar.
Exactly.
Very true.
Like it's so easy to go
doesn't
over.
take much at all.
Yeah.
And then once you get it opaque, you're just wasting it at that point.
Right,
You're not
it's
making
just
it
product
more white.
waste.
It's just going to be
Right.
that white from that point forward.
Right.
And now you're just going to degrade that quality a little bit.
I hope I answered that. That is just a question that everybody asks. and it's just something that you need to be prepared. If you were doing this professionally, this is your responsibility to set expectations for your customers. Don't ever say this white countertop is never going
Right.
to amber over time. Natural granite, natural marble over time is going to amber.
Oxidizes and
It's
amber.
made with epoxy resin.
Right.
They say the same thing, and they also tell you that it will yellow in direct sunlight.
Right.
And we're dropping this video very shortly. We're going over this pretty in depth on our channel, and we tested in a UV simulated weather machine where we took pucks of our epoxy, all of our resins, and we took epoxy from our competitors and stuck them in this weather machine. And I'll tell you, RK won every single one. It's a 1, 3, and 6 year simulation, and
Nice.
it cooks in the UV really quick. And you could see right then and there all the different shades of yellow the resin becomes. And in the 1, 3, and 6 year, RK stayed the clearest.
Wow.
All right.
That's awesome.
I can contest that the product works really well as far as I did a mosaic table in my for my mother because they lost all their furniture in Harvey.
Right.
And they have it now in their new home, and it's in the sunroom right next to the window. And I did it 4 years ago, and it's still nice and clear. And it's probably got 3 and 4 coats
Oh, wow.
of resin on top of it to compensate for all the different heights of the tiles. But it looks nice.
Yeah.
So bottom line, if you're going to do a white countertop, and anything for that matter, follow best practices.
Right.
Follow best practices, do what you know that needs to be done to obtain the best results.
Right.
And if you follow those, what Rhonda just got through explaining, that gives you the best opportunity.
Just getting ready.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You flipped them up. You didn't know what to
Feel the
do.
heat right there. That gives you the best opportunity for the best results. So do things the right way and you'll get the best results.
All right, cool. Great answer. Next.
I got one. What stone coat product is best to reduce or keep away scratches on a river table?
Okay, well,
UTC.
okay,
Exactly.
I would say definitely the ultimate
one
top coat.
A properly applied application.
Properly?
of that.
Baby.
Properly applied ultimate top coat. So, I guess we can jump into the
Proper.
UT stain thing.
Mhm.
So, I do have a very detailed video on my YouTube channel. It's called The Ultimate Guide to the Ultimate Top Coat. And I am very, very detailed in how to prep, mix, pour, all of the above. And it also really matters on the supplies that you use as to being able to lay it out. Also, I've got a PDF on my website. I can also send it to you. You guys just email me, Rhonda at RK3Designs.com. I will send you that PDF. But it gives you specific mixing ratios that help get your best application. Now, there are a lot of products out there, and I want to address the gloss issue. I always have people calling me saying my gloss has a orange peel texture. So coming from a faux finishing background, orange peel means something a little bit different than what you guys say orange peel is. Orange peel to me, I can feel the texture, and it's pretty aggressive texture. In the gloss, if you do it the way that's in my video and you've perfected the application method and you use the correct amount of water, that's the key, and you put plenty of product down there to start off with, I'm telling you, it will be very, very smooth. You can run your hand over it. I've had people come into my studio and go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that is the ultimate top coat. I have never seen it go on that smooth. The key to know is all gloss top coats. I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care what the manufacturer promises you. If you are going to roll on a top coat, it is always going to have some sort of visual texture when it dries. And the reason is because it's rolled on, the light is catching the roller marks. Even if it self-levels, it's going to have a little bit of that texture. Now, there are a couple of exceptions. There are some ceramic coatings out there. You don't roll it on, you apply it with a cloth. Okay, there's some great ceramic coatings, but your ceramic coatings, I don't care what anybody tells you, is not going to give you the same protection as your ultimate top coat. It may be 1200 degrees heat resistant. That's fine. If it's 1200 degrees, if the epoxy underneath it, because these are micron thin particles,
Especially ceramic.
if your epoxy is not rated at 1200, it doesn't matter what your ceramic coating is rated at. Okay? Also, scratch resistance. These ceramic coatings are amazing for giving a gloss shine. They're amazing for hydrophobic protection with your water. Amazing. They're great. But they are not going to give you the scratch resistance that the ultimate top coat gives. Now, does that mean the ultimate top coat is scratch proof? No. I can scratch it just like I can scratch a piece of marble. But it is very, very durable, and it takes your epoxy to the next level as far as the durability. Now, I've got video where I've tested several other products on the market. So, I'm just telling you, I'm not just saying this because I'm a fan. I have tested other products and I have video to prove it. But I'm not saying that UTC is the only product that you can apply. It's not. It is a very good product. Now, if you want to spray, there are better products than the UTC out on the market if you want to spray. What you have to ask yourself then is it low VOC? What are the VOCs? Is it heat resistant? Is it scratch resistant? How easy is it to apply? So it's a give or take. Okay? So in my opinion, DIY and even contractors, the ease that it is to use the UTC is it's a game changer.
Without a doubt.
So, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this to myself. Blah blah blah.
I didn't want to get this. So I was like,
I'm very passionate, guys. I'm very passionate about that. Very passionate, and so I'm glad we've addressed it, and it's good. So we can
I
go to the
make
next
sure
one.
you use your directions instead of the
Yes.
bottle directions.
Yes, make sure.
We're updating those bottle instructions because Rhonda, you have
She
nailed that
perfected it.
formulation. That, like, I've done it so
It
many
looks
times.
nice.
I take it for granted when I'm teaching it and I'm doing it. I can tell almost how it's going to turn out by the consistency of it. I'm sure you can as well. But Rhonda, with a much bigger brain than myself or my brothers combined, did the math, reverse engineered the formula. I'm still kind of like, it's times what again? And then it's perfect.
And I do want to give out a shout to Michelle Ellsworth with Desert Daisy Designs. She and I sat one night for hours and hours and hours and researched this.
You nailed it, though.
Yeah.
She did. So
All right.
we are going to update those instructions on the website and as well on those bottles, but your formulation for mixing the right amount and the right amount of water to add to that, it's a winning combo.
Where do they find that PDF?
All right, so if you go to my website and you click on the shop tab, the shop page is going to come up. Under the word shop, it literally says in big bold letters, Ultimate Top Coat Mixing Instructions. Click on that link, and that's a printable PDF. And then also go to my YouTube channel as well. And I've got a video, very detailed video called The Ultimate Guide to the Ultimate Top Coat.
It's a good video.
Rhonda, don't you have the link on most of your videos as well?
I think so. Almost any video, I'll have that link
Yeah.
in the
And
bottom
Rhonda
of the
loves
video.
answering customer service phone calls, so don't hesitate to give her a holler.
She loves it.
And her number is 5014.
BR549.
Yeah.
RK3.
All right,
Okay.
I got a question on.
I'd like to take a brief moment to offer my apologies.
All right, I got a floor question. If I could take that
Sure.
real quick, it's a short one.
100%. I need a 6
Mike's asking, are we getting ready? We're getting ready to do our new home floors, 4,000 square feet. How long after concrete pour do we wait to do epoxy, and what would you recommend? Mike, great question and super good timing. Next week we're literally filming a brand new flooring product. We've revamped our whole flooring system. We added some new products. We added the color flake system for like your garage floors, more industrial style. But you want to wait 28 days minimum on that concrete before you could put epoxy over it. And we have a new moisture sealing epoxy sealer that goes down and penetrates in and creates a vapor barrier for those older homes that might not have plastic under their slab and moisture coming through. So that's no longer a deal breaker. You can put that floor epoxy right over. So
Yeah.
I got to do a quick follow up on my concrete floor question because I confused
Okay.
Evelyn here. You can drive on the flooring epoxy. It's 36 hours later. You have to wait 28 days to put epoxy over fresh concrete. That's the 28-day wait. It's after you pour a fresh slab, you have to wait at least 28 days to a month because that concrete's off-gassing moisture and all sorts of stuff. So you want to get that out of there before you seal it up with epoxy. But after your epoxy's been installed, you want to drive on that, it's 3 to 4 days right after you could go back in there for vehicle traffic. The very next day, you can walk across it.
Cool. All right. Guys, are y'all enjoying this? Let us know. Give us some likes. Give us some thumbs up. Give us something. We may do one of these a quarter, maybe, and put together something for you. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. This is a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
this is cool. There have been some great questions. I really appreciate it.
There's
All
actually
right.
been more questions that I can't even remember that I'm like, that's a great question, but the feed goes. so
Yep,
fast.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
copy and I've been bringing some
Okay.
over for that. I got one on a lazy Susan.
Okay,
Can I bring that
sure,
one up?
absolutely.
Any tips for equally finishing out both the top and the underside of a lazy Susan? Have any of y'all done that?
I have, but I'm gonna let somebody
Both
else.
sides of the lace?
Yeah, like finishing the top and the bottom.
Oh yeah, just take it off.
Yeah.
So explain that to them.
And go.
You're on.
I was in the middle of answering.
So her
your-
answer was actually,
Yes.
because of reasons.
Okay.
So I would do one side, the bottom side first, because it doesn't even matter what it looks like, really, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things. Do the bottom side first by taping off everything. Make sure you hone in your tape so that it doesn't leak through, but if it does, who cares,
Right.
whatever, because you can just sand it off. And then flip it over, tape the bottom, not your edges, but just the bottom, so you can protect it from anything that goes over, and then resin as normal. Wait for it to cure, pull the tape, and you have a fully fledged, surrounded by resin, lazy Susan.
All right.
I'm assuming that when you have the top going over the back side, you want to have a little bit of epoxy overlap. And keep that in mind when you're doing the tape so it's completely sealed up.
Why take the back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
would go
Right,
over it
exactly.
with the clear coat, but not with the color coat.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I have another way to do it. That's a great way to do it. I have another way to do it. There's a bazillion ways to do it. What? She just blah 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 me, and
And you just started.
I just made her do it again.
You lied on that one.
you
Okay.
push that one?
She ain't sorry. She did it on purpose.
0%
Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, so here's what I've done. That makes complete sense, and it's probably way better than what I'm fixing to tell you. I've done the same thing. I started on the bottom, poured epoxy, I let it roll over, and then I would scrape the edges, and then when it got to that point where it was tacky, remember we talked about that on our edges, I would take my alcohol and I would rub it all around and make it super smooth. When it dried, I'd flip it over. I would sand those edges a little bit just because they're going to have more epoxy on epoxy. I would sand it, then I would pour my top side, let it do its thing, do the same thing. Those drips on the bottom, I would run my popsicle stick and get rid of any drips. At one point, when it gets tacky, I would run my hand underneath there, get rid of the drips, do the same thing on the flood coat.
On
So,
a color coat, you would just run your hand. That's gonna mess up your design.
not on the bottom side. Yeah, but you're not going to see it. Once it goes over the edge,
But if they're trying to resin both sides of it, it's for a reason, right?
are you trying to resin both sides so that you can look at both sides, or so that
think
you can
so. I'm
just
not
seal
sure.
it?
She just
Because
said
if
how to
you're
do
just
both.
trying to seal it, then I would just resin the top, scrape the bottom, and then
Flood the whole
run
thing.
everything.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So I guess we need to know, are you wanting to look at both sides? That's
Maybe
where
she's
I was
extra.
confused.
it's extra.
All right, so we need to clarify that in the comments. So let us know.
Well, we answered both ways. I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
we're good.
Oh, Sylvia asks, can you sand the UTC off if you don't like the finish?
Oh,
You
Okay.
good
can't.
question.
I am not gonna blah 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 myself. I'm gonna let him.
I'm
do
just
it.
gonna say,
I just laughed at you.
All right, Keith, why don't you do this?
The answer to that question is
Maybe.
I mean, you can.
Yeah,
It's physically
yes.
possible.
You can. Okay, so yes, you can.
I hit it 4 times for you.
Was the question specific or was just can
If you don't like it, but you're gonna want to refinish it with something. You know,
Okay, so
Let's say you
I'm
didn't
gonna
do a good job.
right. I'm going to need some help with answering this question in its entirety because there could be several reasons why you're sanding down your ultimate top coat.
If the insurance provides for it, you can do it.
So let's say that you put down your ultimate top coat natural and you decide, I don't like that, I would rather have the gloss. Can you just lightly scuff it and then apply your gloss over the top of that? You can, but you're not going to get the same sheen as if you were to apply the UTC gloss directly over your prepped flood coat. Same thing goes if you apply the UTC gloss and you decide, I really don't like that, I want to go with the UTC matte. So to get the ultimate sheen from the natural or the gloss is by directly going over your flood coat, okay? So yes, you can apply gloss over a sanded matte. It will be a gloss finish, but it won't be the same gloss you would get if you went over the flood coat, and same thing vice versa. If you're sanding down the ultimate top coat natural and you end up with lap lines, roller marks, and you just need to redo it, my recommendation, what works best for me, is I'm going to sand that UTC gloss or natural. I'm going to sand both of those down to where they are absolutely completely smooth.
Right.
That in a glare you see no little dips,
Nothing.
that you have
Basically
sanded it
sand it off.
completely smooth.
Yeah.
Do you need to sand the product completely off? No, but just make sure that you have it as smooth as you can possibly get it.
Right.
This
You're
is
helmet
a really
Pretty much,
important
yeah.
reason why you also want to make sure that you have applied your flood coat over your color
Bingo.
coat.
So
So you
important
have
to have that.
protected that color coat finish, that if you need to sand down the ultimate top coat to reapply it,
Not hitting color.
know that you can sand it down, that you're only getting into your flood coat and you're not going to damage your color coat.
People ask that question all the time.
Yeah.
Do I have to flood coat? This is exactly why.
Yeah.
Because what if?
You
So,
ruin
right.
it. If you sand through and you now have exposed under substrate, you're in big
But
trouble.
let's go a little bit deeper than that,
Mess up
because
your
that
color.
question comes up a lot of, do I need to apply a flood coat over my color coat if I'm applying UTC? Remember what Rhonda talked about, that whenever you're putting any additives in your epoxy, you have altered the integrity of that epoxy. There's no way that you can have the same durability that you would have with unadulterated epoxy that has had no additives. Do you like that word?
I did.
Unadulterated. You're not having a drunk epoxy.
It makes me feel like I have to talk to a
Dancing in
priest
the
or
street.
something.
I know. Like, is this a confession?
Excuse me, I've sinned.
Push it, push it.
The answer is yes, sand it down pretty smooth.
Yes, sand it down smooth to reapply if you're reapplying it because you don't like the way that your natural turned out or the gloss turned out. And also another reason why you always want to make sure you do apply a flood coat over your color coat. So give me a thumbs up if I answered that
Great
question. Or if
summation.
just
I think you answered about 14 questions.
Yeah, you went on, man. I loved it. That was
I
great.
think with the UTC that I've done my share of rework on that UTC. It's a
That means
love-hate
more
relationship.
sanding discs than
Yes, if I had an odometer, it'd probably turn over a couple times. But
Put your Fitbit on it.
right.
There you go.
So the biggest thing with that is do your sample board in UTC.
Absolutely.
And because even though that you can do your finish and you can pour it and all that stuff, screw it up so you can fix it. And that's the biggest key to learning something. I mean, it's huge.
Right.
All right.
But practice at UTC on something larger than a 16
Yes.
Yep.
by 12
Mixed
board
mileage.
because
Yes.
it's much different doing it on
Ooh, size
30,
matters
40
with
square
UTC.
foot.
It does matter.
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right, so I do want to address this issue as well. And I get this question every day. Multiple times a day I get this question. And it's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. I teach it in the class. I drill it into our students. And if you ever ask me this question, I just want you to know I'm very passionate about it. There are, oh, nope, you get
I'm
that
getting
later.
Do we all get one?
Yes.
You know, if you were out there representing yourself as a professional in this industry,
Right.
meaning basically all you have to do to say that you're a professional is, are you charging someone for this? I don't care if it is your next door neighbor, if it is your mother, if you're only charging for the product. If you are going into someone's house or you are charging someone to do this job, you are telling that person that you are an expert at this. So if you are not skilled in this craft, if you've not done enough to where you feel you have mastered this, or at least mastered the technique that someone is asking you to do not go into someone's house and charge them for this unless you know you're ready to start doing this. A lot can go wrong when you're doing epoxy if you're not experienced and you haven't practiced. Another thing, if you are charging for this, guys, cover yourself legally. Have a binding contract. And I don't mean something that you pulled off LegalZoom. I'm talking something that has been looked at and gone over with a lawyer that knows what they're talking about. If you start walking in people's houses and you're claiming to be the expert and you mess up something, or if they mess up something and you don't have a contract stating what you're warranting and what you're not warranting, what those expectations are both for you and your customer, you have no business saying that you're doing this as a professional. Also, be covered insurance-wise. I've probably had in the last 6 weeks, I've had 3 people come to me that are being sued, and they're wanting me to actually be an expert witness because they have gone into a home and something has gone wrong. One example was a lady had something on her shoes, and she literally went to the bathroom and she put a little bit of epoxy on the carpet. She is now replacing that whole house with epoxy. I mean, with carpet because of that one little piece.
We got epoxy flooring.
Yeah, there you go. But she did not have general liability insurance, and now she can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
I'm
I should
also
have prepped that floor.
Yeah,
She's gonna be walking around.
That's
your
right.
error, but
That's
even
right.
the best prepped areas sometimes will fail. You've got to
Right.
cover yourself.
You've got to cover yourself. I also had someone call me where the homeowner had a reaction to the spray paint that they were using, and they had a respiratory issue. They went to the emergency room. Now the person that was installing the countertop is now being sued for the hospital bills. Now, all of that could have been avoided by one, setting expectations before they went into the home, and also having your insurance. So this is one of the many issues that we cover in our pro class. We talk about the do's and the don'ts, the must-haves, the contracts, the bid sheets, how to price your pieces, how to talk to your customer, all of that. It is very important. This is a very viable business. Countertop epoxies, epoxy flooring, doing furniture. It is a art. It is a booming business. But guys, you have to do it and treat it like a business from day one. You have to do that, or you're going to be liable. So I'm off my soapbox. Just
Respect the trade.
respect it. I've had people call me that have had people go in and absolutely ruin their countertops, and they don't know where to turn because the contractor never shows up. There was no contract, anything. So there's some horror stories out there, and I want everyone to make sure that they're covering themselves legally before they're starting to go into these homes and do this.
Don't let this industry
Professionally.
get a bad name.
That's right. Okay,
If you're
so
not in it.
I'm up.
Like Travis
My
Franklin
soapbox.
said in the chat, don't let your very first order be for your first customer.
That's right.
Yes.
Like, come
That's
on.
right. Exactly.
The first one
Yeah.
I did was for my mom.
Yeah.
and it's horrible.
Yeah. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just wanting you people to understand. I want to enjoy what you're doing, but I also want you to know you don't just buy a jug of epoxy and say I'm a professional and I'm going to charge you to do your countertops, because I'm telling you, you can get yourself in so much trouble. So,
When
all right.
you have a support group with what you have here with RK3 Designs, the Insiders Group, and so many people who are doing everything they can to help you do the right thing, take advantage of that, learn the product, learn the process, do the right thing, and it helps everybody in this industry, and we could all be profitable.
And this is our classes, guys. This is, I mean, I'm not, this is not about pushing my classes, but in our classes, we touch on this. Our pro class is 4 days of this Q&A, hands-on, working with epoxy. We teach you how to fabricate. We teach you how to pour over existing materials. We teach you how to do showers, but we also teach you what's important to run a business. And we give you a support. Once you take our class, you're part of the family. You'll always get 15% off your products. You'll have my cell number. You can call us. There's so many times I will call Mitch and he will step in, Keith as well. And we are behind you. We want you to be successful because that's what makes us successful. So just saying. All right, we have more questions. Let's just go for another few minutes and then we will call it a night. We have to get up early in the morning. We have class starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. So let's take a couple more questions.
Miss PMS has asked a couple questions about doing wooden.
Miss PMS.
That's her. Miss PMS1, thoughts and suggestions on doing wooden stair treads. She's asked that a couple times.
Okay.
So I wanted to get her in there.
Stair treads.
Okay,
Wooden.
like river table stair treads.
I asked her if she could remove them. Like.
All right. So what I think it may not be her,
I
but
think it's
someone reached out to me about doing their stairs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're building your stairs and they're not built yet, and you're actually constructing them, then yes, you can pour them and then take them and install them. If you're looking at pouring them while they're in place, that's going to be
down the stairs.
Yeah, that's a dirty
I want to do
pour.
it so bad. I want to do it so bad. I just want to.
That's going to be very tough because you're going to have.
Let it happen. We're gonna arm wrestle.
You're going to have every stair is going to have. You're going to have to tape so that the stairs don't drip.
Do not attempt
on the
just
bottom.
Remove them.
So it's going to be really difficult to do that. I wouldn't advise that, but if there's a way to take your stairs, make new stairs, you can
Could
do
you
it.
just do MDF slats and like just
You could.
do them on a table so it could look rivery?
Yeah, you could.
And
But I wouldn't use MDF because of,
or whatever it is.
they
like
sell
a thin
actual
wood
treads that are legit for
that
installing.
are like already done.
Yes,
so they can
they're
go
already
like
bull-nosed even, right,
That's
for
the
sure.
word
And then
today.
you just line them up. I wanted to do a river table strip.
So that you could do.
You cut it up and install it.
Prefabrication. You could do stairs. Now, I would, and a friend of mine, Deb Wakefield, she's in Alaska, from Deborah's Ditties. If y'all haven't checked out
Deborah's
her website, Deborah's Ditties.
with a D.
Y'all
Yeah, I heard.
have to check her out. She is
First
amazing.
7 times she said it to me. I was
She
like, oh, what?
actually has UTC on the matte UTC on her stairs. I went up and down because I stayed upstairs, and they're not slick.
Right.
So that's something that you may want to do.
also-
Someone asked a question
Also,
about
the brand new floor system I was talking about earlier, we have a clear grit you can now put into the epoxy.
Nice.
Yeah,
So it'll add a little bit of texture.
It
to
adds texture. You could do it right outside of the shower and you're good to go.
Okay, so there you
that
go.
box dropping here soon. So if I was that's where I was going to go was
Pour
I
in
would
place
clear
stairs.
coat that with a grit, and now you're good to go. You could have sopping wet feet, and you're not going to be slippy. I see people laughing about my
Slippy.
slippy word in the chat.
Slippy.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
You can finally burn in there here.
Never seen such a
that's a
manly man
t-shirt.
say slippy.
There is another option
Option right
too.
makes up words.
For the
Flippy
steps,
Bueller
instead of the
style.
place where you're stepping on, you can do the place that is vertical.
You can.
Yeah, and you can see it, from the eye point of view.
But
walking
again, you're going to have to do that fabrication. You
Yeah.
can't do
Install.
it. You can't.
Yeah.
You have to do it and then
No
install
way,
it.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the riser.
All right. So I
We
hope.
paint stairs all the time.
We
so that
answered your
it looks like a
question.
design when you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
It's
sure.
like a
we did,
mural
but
upstairs.
I hope. All right. Any more questions?
We're for hire.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think we've
Kinda
covered.
slowed down.
I
This has
think
been
we.
great.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything,
Guys,
guys.
peak views right now at
Epoxy.
130 people.
I
Need
just-
thumbs.
Thumbs up.
Subscribe
we need
if you
those.
haven't, and also
Yeah.
check out the
Ring the bell.
That's right. So that brings up a really
Oh,
quick
we
thing.
didn't touch
Oh,
on that.
yes,
That's
okay.
super good.
Oh,
Yeah.
We gotta
Bruce.
touch that.
Bruce has a pro tip for everyone.
This was a question though off of
Oh,
off of the
pre-question.
thing. Yeah, pre-question we never hit, which was
How you
how do I
finish-
deal with cleaning my finished countertop, and what about staining?
So this stuff here, I don't know, you can kind of zoom in or not.
We have the product for you.
This stuff, totally awesome. You can get it at Home Depot.
Yep.
In a
Dollar
big
General.
jug.
Dollar
It's all
General.
Dollar General.
it
So
is
it's
or that's what it's
concentrated.
called?
It is totally
To-
awesome.
it is
or
totally
It's
awesome.
both. The
Totally
product
awesome.
and the outcome.
Yeah, so
Great.
the stuff at Home Depot is concentrated, and it'll go forever. But the stuff in the dollar stores are already pre-mixed. But this stuff here, I've had an accident with a little one in the back, spilled some orange crush, and it froze in the back of my truck on one of my sample boards for 2 weeks, I think.
At least it wasn't milk.
Yeah, it wasn't milk, but it was orange crush. So I thought, that's pretty bad as is.
Yeah, that is.
And I was like, oh, I'm never going to get it out. I was like, that's the ultimate test. So here I used it, cleaned right up. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that this will penetrate
Right.
through. But
So
that's
one question on that, I've had people, because a lot of people are starting to understand that Totally Awesome is Totally Awesome, works great for getting out stains. But I've seen a lot of people that have asked about using a magic eraser along with the Totally Awesome.
It's too scrubby.
It depends on what you're doing it on. I've had really good luck with using the magic eraser with that on a matte finish where I don't scrub hard.
Right.
Correct.
Just a little bit.
You can change
I've
the
not had good luck using a magic eraser on gloss because it will change the sheen.
Yep.
So
I switched to
Microcloth.
a microfiber.
microcloth is the
Yes.
best.
Double grease.
Works great. And
Yeah.
I got out Sharpie. This was from a sneak cutout, and I still have a line,
yeah, line
of 4 lines on each side, and it was probably at least 2 to 3 months. It took, I think, about 3 to 4. I'd soak it, wipe it, soak it, wipe
Yep.
it, about 5 minutes in between.
You just had a little line.
And that Sharpie, about that line, 4 of them, and completely removed them.
Your
I was,
kids are grown, right?
Yeah.
yes.
My 5-year-old put a Sharpie all over my table, and I was like panicking. And I start with the lightest, the least aggressive
Abrasive?
method
Right.
first. So I just went to the isopropyl alcohol and soaked it on there, let it soak, wipe it off with a microfiber, and that got rid of all of it.
Nice.
So I went to the Totally Awesome. One thing I couldn't get out, or my customer couldn't get out, was the pollen in the middle of a lily. I got my customer lilies. They were gone, so I surprised them with flowers on their thing.
So that was
You
your
got
fault
them,
that
Lily.
stayed
Why?
out there?
Yes, I stained it.
Sabotage.
It stained it. So
Sabotage.
be aware of that. Lilies, the little pollen thing
Wow.
drops out of the lily.
Also, essential oils.
So-
Essential oils will straight up out of the diffuser. If you leave that, it will straight up stain
Soak in.
if you leave it for days.
But keep
But
in
it would
mind,
do that to marble.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
everything
Totally
we talked
awesome.
about is going
Totally
to stain
awesome.
granite, quartz, marble,
Yeah.
any other type of
Right.
surface. So
Right.
if it's going to stain epoxy, it's going to stain any other type of surface as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
we're not
All right,
sponsored
thank
by
you.
Totally Awesome,
No.
but if you're watching, what's up?
Please.
Yeah.
make it rain.
Just
All right.
Yeah.
So, are we good?
Or
I think so.
I think we're good.
I
That's
think
great.
This was
this
fun.
was amazing. I've had so much fun. All right, guys. Until next week, remember. Do y'all remember what to
Oh
do?
yeah.
Don't be
I
scared.
can remember it.
Move forward
Forward.
and be creative. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Later.
I said bye.